Hi, I'm Laura, and in today's video we're going to be looking at downward facing dog. So this is another video in the series of the foundations of yoga, and it's a pose that you'll see quite a lot when you go to different classes, or maybe if you look at other videos that I've done. So it's really a transitional pose. It helps you get from one place to the other, and it's also really good to strengthen the back, release the hamstrings and the calves, and also sort of strengthen the shoulders and the arms as well. So it's a really good all-rounded practice. There's just a few really simple tips that I'm going to give you today to help improve your downward facing dog. And I think it's also important to consider that not everyone's downward facing dog is going to look the same. So I have quite short legs, don't know whether you've noticed. My downward dog's going to look very different from someone who has those lovely, strong, long legs. So don't worry too much about the person next to you or looking at yourself in the mirror and thinking this isn't quite how it's meant to look. Okay, so when you're ready, just on the mat as always, and we'll get going. Okay, when you're ready, we're just going to start on our tabletop position, so that's just on all fours. Nice straight back, and remember those hands are going to be underneath the shoulders, knees under the hips. So I'm just going to point out while we're here and we're looking at our hands, a really nice simple trick to make sure that you've got everything facing directly in front of you, because sometimes you might find that your hands naturally want to go slightly inward or outward. So when you've got your hands down, I just want you to look at the crease around the wrist and make sure that crease is completely in line with the top of your mat. So if it's starting to face in slightly, you know that maybe you've got your hands just a little bit wrong and we want to just move them back to that nice position. Okay, so just keep an eye on that, and that'll just make sure you've got everything in nice alignment. So from here, I just want you to move your hands one hand space further up away from you. So that's going to give you a lot of space to work in there. And we're going to take a nice big inhale, curl the toes, and on the exhale, bring everything up. Okay, just start to move already, because it can be quite a difficult pose to just go straight into. And we want to just have a little bit of movement to help stretch out the sides and the back and the hamstrings and the arms, a bit of everything. And already here, just in case this feels a bit strong for anyone, I just want to show you the easiest way to come out of your down dog, which is just to release the knees back to the ground, release the toes, and I just want you to come into a nice child's pose and just take a few breaths there. Because it is a very strong pose, and you might find to start with it's quite hard on the arms, or it might be a bit tight on the hamstrings. So when you're ready, and another inhale, going to bring you all the way up, curl the toes, and on that exhale, bring you into your down dog. We want to make sure that we don't have a bit of a turtleneck, that the head is nice and loose, so just doing some no's and some yeses is going to release the neck, making sure that the shoulders and the ears are as far away from each other as they can be. And just start to move everything around, so maybe you want to bring the feet out to the width of the mat, just to stretch everything. Or we just want to bring them quite close together, start to work around the toes and the ankles. And don't worry at this point if your ankles are actually quite high up, or you see mine don't touch the mat, that's absolutely fine. It's all about stretching the legs. And sometimes you find if your feet can touch completely flat, it means that you're actually a little bit too close. Okay? Let me just come down for a second so you can hear me a bit better. Stretching out. Okay. So when we're in the pose, I'll just talk it through while you can see me. When we're in the pose, I just want you to keep moving those feet around. Make sure that those hands are nice and strong and supported, and we want the inside of the elbow facing in. So sometimes you'll find that, like me, you can kind of hyperflex, which means that they can kind of wildly move around a little bit. We don't particularly want that. So we want to keep them nice and in line, like this. Okay? Hope that's clear what I'm doing. And just keep moving the feet, maybe changing the pressure from one hand to the other, moving ever so slightly. You're going to be looking down towards the navel, through the arms, almost through the legs, okay, and really holding that tummy muscle in. And think about tilting the pelvis ever so slightly, a little bit like there's helium balloons holding you up right from your bottom. So it's going to bring you all the way up from that central point, okay? So we'll just go back into it now, and hopefully you'll understand what I've just told you. So coming back round, curl those toes, big inhale, exhale, stretching everything up. So the hips are going to be really lifted. Nice strong inverted V shape. Moving those feet around. Hands strong, looking down, holding the tummy muscles in. Really going to help support the back. And just moving around. Now from this point, if you're still with me, I just want you to slowly walk the feet towards the hands, okay? Everything's going to get quite bent, but that's okay. And just slowly walk up the top of your mat. And from here, just take a nice loose forward fold. Just want you to get used to the idea of making this a transition with your down dog. Really bending the knees, bring yourself all the way up standing, maybe stretching out those hands, looking up. And exhale everything back down. And again, we're just going to go down from here, bending those knees, take you back into a down dog. And we're going to do the same thing, but those hands are just going to follow all the way back down towards the feet this time. And a nice forward fold here. It's also important as well to see how a move that is pretty much the same can just affect different muscles. So really start to listen to the body and see where you can feel everything. And then curl everything up. Nice big stretch. Exhale everything down. Okay. Okay, so one final little move I want to show you from downward facing dog is the down dog split. So that's just where we're going to lift one leg up, which is really going to open the hip and the outside of the thigh on the other leg. And then we'll go on to the other leg. Again, this is a real transitional move, so it could be, it helps you to go into a low lunge, or it helps you to come into a pigeon, but it's a nice way of opening everything out, creating lots of space, and then moving into that space, which is really important. Okay, so one last time on the downward facing dog. You know what you're doing now, so hands a little bit further, curl the toes, lifting everything up. And while we're here, we're just going to bring one leg all the way up, a nice split, maybe bending the knee, opening everything out. So we're going to open the hip, mind the pigeon, and bring everything down. And the other leg, just opening everything up, bending everything. Bend that knee as far around as you can bend it, it's really going to open up the hips. And then releasing everything down. We'll just take 2 nice breaths here in our down dog, remembering keeping the movement, looking down, squeezing the tummy muscles. A smile's always good too. And then on the next exhale, drop the knees, uncurl the toes, and rest in child's pose. And when you're ready, we're just going to come up and take a nice break. Okay, so I hope that answered any questions you might have about downward facing dog. If you've got any other worries or concerns, then just put them below in a comment and I'll get back in touch with you. I hope you've enjoyed today's video, and I shall see you next time. Don't forget to like and share. Bye.